Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I am your host, Anthony Rigucci, and here with a few friends in the Delaware County area. We get in a basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic, of course, is going to be behind the scenes of Superman Legacy, featuring, of course, our guest, Cleveland.com's Joshua Duke. But before we get to him, let me introduce you, my co-host, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Thanks for having us, Gooch. You're obviously the host. That doesn't make any sense. But thank you so much for starting us off on a good podcast. Josh, thanks for coming in. I realized I didn't really even introduce myself while we were talking there.
I feel like you guys have had to have met.
I don't know if we had.
Years.
There might have been a party or something or other, but
really,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't join a lot of parties, especially like in the past probably 6 or 7 years. Genuinely,
yeah.
like I'm a very solitary gamer.
For being like a antisocial gamer.
I am. I like my single player stuff. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. This is a really cool thing to talk about.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. Super excited. And yeah, what you said is 100% applicable to me too. Like I'm a mono gamer, and I definitely a lot of times I just like stay to myself. I'm not like partying with people. At least, especially in these days, like you said, in the last 5 to 7 years, I've been kind of solo dolo in it for sure.
And I'm just not a huge multiplayer game guy to begin with either. Like I'll have like a streak of Halo here and there, but yeah, no, I'm totally with you. It's just I'm a solitary guy when it comes to my games. I like to play Outlaws and sit there and maybe listen to a podcast or something. I don't know, but
yeah, I'm always playing a competitive multiplayer game though.
There you go. Okay, I love it.
So, Duke, do you want to introduce yourself a little more formally and what you do? I feel like that's pretty important to the conversation, and tell us about your role at Cleveland.com and and whatnot.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm Josh Duke. I am a social media producer at Cleveland.com, which basically means that I do a lot of things. Basically a part social media manager, a part like news anchor on social media, a part videographer, video editor, photo editor. So I'm always doing like graphics and stuff. So primarily I handle our social media, posting out our stories, and I go out into the community to cover events. So whatever that looks like, whether that's writing social media posts or graphics or videos, that's start and stop kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Nice.
Interesting.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, if it wasn't obvious enough by the title, Josh is here because he and his team at Cleveland.com covered they're technically leaks, right? Like
absolutely. Well, yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, you guys were on the scene in the first photos. How do you say David's last name?
Corn Sweat, I believe. Yeah, Corn Sweat.
Corn Sweat? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like corn
in sweat.
Corn Sweat. Yeah.
Not sweet.
No.
Like, corn sweat, but you barely hear the end, so it's like almost like corn sweat. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Josh and his team got the first photo and video of David Corning Sweet, whatever.
It's okay.
We know who we're talking about.
Get that, yeah.
As Superman, as well as, Mr. Terrific, fucking Nathan Fillion and his guy Gardner, like pretty much anything that was there, you guys got. You were literally first to the scene. And like we were talking before, it's not like I reached out to you and I don't know you. We just happened to know each other because we met on Xbox and we were trying to figure out, like, how did we meet? Was it like through a mutual friend? Like, who knows? But
that is so funny.
It was over 10 years ago. My memory doesn't go back that far. I can barely remember like what I was doing last week. So
it's so true.
But yeah, man. It's not often. Trio was saying before we started, it's not often that like leaks of this level even happen for like a movie of this caliber. So it's really cool that one, you did it and you got a pretty cool story about it, and two, we got access to you.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Seriously. I mean, and like we were saying before, like they just don't do productions like this that often anymore. Like these, especially even like a Superman, just shooting on scene and having this opportunity to get those leaks. So, I mean, you guys really did do a fantastic job. I did not realize how many basically all these photos did come from you guys. And I'm sorry to say that, because I read your article and I was like, and I saw that you guys mentioned it's like people were just sharing these without even tagging you guys, and that would frustrate the hell out of me, man. So I'm sorry that we didn't know, but I mean, you guys did a freaking fantastic job getting a lot of these shots. So you deserve all the credit in the damn world. But yeah, I guess we'll get more into the experience and stuff and the nitty gritty here after we do what we're doing and such. But Gooch, what's going on? Do we want to move into that?
Yeah, sure. I didn't know if you were about to say anything, Duke, before we got on, just as Tria was talking. It looked like you were about to say something.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to jump too far deep into the Superman stuff if we're going to talk about other things first. But yeah, Superman was an incredibly different experience to our day-to-day. We're not normally like placating to or covering superhero movie news, that's for sure. We're definitely a local news organization. So like normally it's like, oh, what are the Browns doing? Hey, it's Browns game day, by the way, our opener. That's why I'm in orange.
I love it. Go Browns.
Yeah. The Eagles played on Friday in Brazil, so we had our moment.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah, big day in Cleveland. But yeah, so it was incredible. Cleveland's having such a great year, and I'm excited to talk about some of the particulars of what we sort of went through and observed and all that.
Cool. But yeah, like you were saying, before we get into our topic, we do like talk about what we're doing, playing, watching, reading, whatever the hell we want to talk about. And yeah, we did want to throw it over to you first. So what's going on, man? What are we playing, doing, whatever you want to talk about?
Well, you know, I've gotten back into my Smite bag, you know, so I'm kind of always playing Smite these days on Xbox. I used to play it all the time, like years and years ago, but it's a MOBA where the toxicity is definitely thriving. There's something about the toxicity of like spamming VGAs that I don't know. It just pulls me in. It just keeps me there. And
the toxicity flows.
Yeah, it's something about it. It just I like it. I don't know. So been doing a lot. That's pretty much. I'm a mono gamer. If I didn't say before, which means I basically only play one game at a time. Until like I just feel like doing something differently. So that's what my one game at the time is right now. And outside of that, life has been pretty cool. Just got back from vacation not too long ago. I went on a cruise to the Mexico and some other locations. It got redirected because of a hurricane at the time. But that was pretty fun with horseback riding and played with some monkeys in a swamp. So that's pretty much me right now.
I got to see a sloth. And how was that? Was that an experience?
Yeah, that was really cool. I feel like sloths are an underrated exotic
I agree.
Animal. Yeah, they're super, super cute and sweet. The only thing is that his claws are a little sharp, so I'm like, oh, you're kind of digging into my back,
digging into me
a little bit. Yeah.
They're such odd animals, man. I'd love to see a sloth in real life.
I don't think I've really been exposed to like any exotic animals like on that level.
Yeah, I don't think I have either, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I've basically. I guess, yeah, that's true.
I haven't been to the
fair. That's a good
Philadelphia
point.
Zoo in fucking like 15 or 20 years.
I don't know.
It's been a while. It's like Philadelphia Zoo is like there's a few zoos in the Philadelphia area.
I believe so, yeah.
That one being the biggest one, but like, yeah, like besides like, you know, like maybe like the second grade field trip there, like I haven't been back.
Fun fact, I don't think I've ever been to a zoo.
What?
I don't think I have.
That's a fun fact.
I've been to I've been to an aquarium. I've been to a few aquariums. But maybe there's one when I was really young that I don't remember. But yeah, I don't think I've been to a zoo.
A fear of animals?
No, I'd go see a monkey or like a lion. I mean, can they keep a lion anymore? I don't think. Is that cool still?
Yeah.
I think so.
No, I don't know. Like wildlife stuff.
I think you may be thinking about like circuses. Circuses don't really play with. Yeah, you should investigate that. Why your school system didn't require like a field trip to the zoo. It's insane.
Yeah, that's
maybe
like
there is one
5,
there and it's lost in my mind. Yeah, I don't know. It's just funny because like I can't off the top of my head remember one. So that's an interesting one.
That's funny.
But yeah, I think the most wild animal I got close to was a penguin at the aquarium. It was kind of mean.
That's kind of lame in a way.
What can I say? I touched a stingray too, so whatever.
Just like really basic. Funny enough, I mean, I was like, so I went on vacation too recently. I think me and Duke were like on the vacation right at the same time. I went to Grand Teton National Park, Yellowstone, and Glacier National Park in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho area, in the West. And I was like maybe 20 feet from a black bear.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. I saw like
that
it's not
doesn't sound
exotic,
good.
but that thing could fucking kill
Yeah,
you.
it absolutely could, and not in a fun way.
Yeah, yeah. And so like when you go hiking there, like you have to have bear spray.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like it's almost like a requirement because like if you like there's enough people on some of those trails that you're kind of okay. Like you'll probably outnumber the thing and it might get scared.
Sure.
But it was definitely like we were just walking on a path and there it is. And it was just like, holy shit. Like we gotta like stop. Like, you know, we're like going along at a clip and like I'm like attentive and then I just see it and it's like, holy shit. Like,
Well, yeah, and the black, what is it? Brown, you lay down. If it's black, you yell back, right? That's the thing
I think,
for like
but
black and brown
yeah,
bears.
so black and grizzly bears are out there, and grizzly bears,
Yeah, those
are, like,
those
the
they
real
will
issue.
destroy you. Interesting. Yeah. you were close.
Yeah, but that was yeah, and then I went to Canada for friend of the show Casey Wellman's bachelor party, which was just drinking, smoking, just dudes being
Some
dudes.
debauchery,
Like, I
yeah.
don't know. There's really nothing else to say.
We love a good bachelor party.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was my second one. So I've done 2 this year, and my only 2.
Jesus.
Yeah,
It's that time, especially I guess for our age range for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But sorry to cut you off, Josh. Was there anything else you're up to
Nope.
at all, or
Nope. Yeah,
sounds
the floor
pretty
is
good
yours.
though? No, I love, no, it sounds like
Yeah.
a good time. But goosh.
And so while I was traveling, I got to reading. I have a lot of DC things in this, very unironic or coincidentally, which is funny. But I finished a book called Control Freak, and Control Freak is Cliff Bleszinski's autobiography. Makes Gears of War. Or he did make Gears of War. He was at Epic. Very interesting read.
He won't shut up about it.
Yeah, he doesn't. What about Gears or
You know,
about?
like I just feel like I always see him online talking.
I mean, dude, he named Fortnite.
no, that is wild.
I like reading the part where him and Epic are like, it's post Gears 3.
Yeah,
And they're like,
this is who again? I'm sorry,
Cliff
this
Bleszinski.
is Cliff Bleszinski.
And
yeah.
they're like starting to build Epic, and he names it. And it's like, you know, obviously it's nothing like it is now.
Right.
And then he like leaves the team shortly after that. Like the hindsight of like reading that, it was like I wanted to cry for him.
because you didn't know what he had. Well, because
Right.
it was like a base like defense game at first, right? Yeah. That is wild, and now it just has every single thing in it ever,
Right.
which is so
it's
funny.
our Ready Player One.
It's like Michael Myers and Spider-Man in the same game.
Right.
It's weird. That is wild, and I would be sad too.
Yeah, really interesting read. As somebody who grew up with like with Unreal and Gears, and you know, I played a little Lawbreakers, but like the rise and fall of like a game developer, and yeah, I you know, he's kind of like come back a little bit, but like, you know, it's interesting to see like, oh, will he ever get back to like the video game industry? Like I don't know. Hard to say.
What is he doing right now?
I actually don't know.
What is he doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a lot of stuff. He got into like the production of a play called Hades Town. And he's doing stuff like outside of the industry. And I think recently I heard him on a podcast say like he was writing a new game or something like that. But he definitely said like, oh, he'll never make a studio again after Boss Key went under with Lawbreakers. And he's like, you know, my days of being a CEO are over. Like that was not something I wanted to do and I was bad at. And so whatever he makes, it would probably be with like some other company if that ever happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to look up what he's doing now. It does. I don't know. If
It's
he has
really
anything,
just like
specific. Yeah,
and it hasn't been anything.
consulting type stuff.
Right.
And I mean, the last
he
article
tweets.
the last article that came up was like Cliff Bleszinski says Microsoft and Gears of War devs would be smart if they asked for his help. And it's just like
so,
stuff like
every
that.
time a
Like,
Gears game comes out, it's like, you know, he has like something to say about it. And
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to hear his opinion about
I mean,
it.
he did make the franchise, so or help create it. So
Right,
I guess
right.
it's fair enough.
And yeah, so I finished that. Great little read. And I started Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which is the comic book they're basing Millie Alcock's Supergirl movie on. And I'm not that far in it, but I fucking love it. And I'm really excited to see whatever the hell this movie's going to be. Because it's basically like Supergirl, it turns 21 and she decides to like go off on a planet and like drink alone and like kind of like celebrate.
Oh, so it does start with her on Earth?
No, but she definitely lives on Earth. Like you can kind of
see.
just tell. Like she's like not. She seems like pretty early into being Supergirl, but like not. She's definitely not like assimilated on Earth. I think
that
that's
makes
the
sense.
idea that like she doesn't like Earth, so she leaves Earth goes to a random alien planet and like she can get drunk on.
That's cool. That
Like
makes sense.
because
Yeah,
she can't
good.
get drunk on Earth because of the yellow sun, so she goes
makes sense.
to a planet with a red sun, and
How does she get off?
that's part of the comic, dude.
That's
You'll see.
interesting. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I
But
gotta read it.
it's
Spoiler
interesting.
alert.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that.
Because it's like a fully space like story
Yeah.
for the most part, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
intergalactic. That sounds cool. Dude, I've seen the art and stuff for that. It reminds me a lot of, I've said this before, but like Hercules, like Disney. I don't know why. I really like it a lot. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, it's told through the perspective of like a girl who's like tries to recruit her to like kill somebody for her, like a little girl, and like the girl is like very well written. I don't know what it is about her. She's the one like narrating and like telling the story. So it's like she knows who Supergirl is to like a degree, and like she's telling it as if it's like she's older and she's telling it from like
I see.
the future.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. But like to see like this be like I mean, I know we have like the Supergirl show, but like we've never really had Supergirl on the big screen. To see like
Well,
this,
that's not true. There was an 80s Supergirl movie.
oh yeah, but
That's
do we
like
really
te-
count that?
I mean, it's technically true. That's all I'm saying. She was. That might have been a straight to home release. Honestly, I don't know. Off the top
We're
of my
not
head,
counting that.
but it definitely is in the Chris Reeves like universe, which is funny. Mr.
Is
Sunday
it like
Movies
Chris
did a movie.
Reeves universe? I
Yeah,
have
it's
no
like
idea.
I think it happened like
exactly.
after,
That's
but
why
that's
we
what
can't count
it
it.
got buried. It was after like Superman 4, I think, in like the 80s or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that is funny. Yeah, I like that they're going, like I said, fully like Interstellar with it. That's the most interesting part to me because Superman's going to be on Earth, so that makes sense.
Right.
Get kind of both aspects.
Yeah. And then I was catching up on some Tomorrowverse DCAU movies, trying to get to like
the animated
War
stuff, yeah.
World and the Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm always behind on the DC animated stuff.
There's a lot of it.
Yeah, I watched the Green Lantern one and the Legion of Superheroes one, which Supergirl is in as well.
Yeah, I'd like to catch up on them.
Yeah.
I watched Crisis on Infinite Earth 1. DC does a good job of like they really kind of commit to their animated stuff in a way that Marvel doesn't, I would say.
Yeah, Duke, have you seen any of those?
No, I don't think so. I haven't watched one of those in a minute. So
They're good. I mean,
No, and that makes sense. I feel like the animated stuff is a tough bar to
Sell.
hop into. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
if you're not like us who just really kind of watch whatever it is and it's like, oh, it's DC. Okay, we'll watch it. But yeah, they're definitely good if you're ever bored on a plane sometime. I definitely would recommend checking them out.
and because I've been on vacation, I haven't really been playing all that much. I started Undead Nightmare for Red Dead Redemption. We have a podcast all about that, so I don't want to get too into it, but it's been an interesting journey, let's just say that. So hopefully, if you're not subscribed already, subscribe. You'll be notified when that podcast drops. I'm gonna save the Kingdom Come Deliverance stuff for you if you're gonna talk about that.
Oh,
but
sure,
I've
yeah.
I've been playing that all summer.
Yeah.
And
No, that's a
then
good call.
playing Star Wars Outlaws. It's been interesting, to navigate all the hate reviews of that game and like try to form my own opinion. about it.
Railroading, Gooch.
It's interesting. It's the one thing I'll say about it, and I said this to you last night.
Yeah.
Star Wars Outlaws feels like a game with Star Wars as like a set dressing, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. It doesn't feel like Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor. It feels much different. Like
It's not the Star Wars porn. That's
it
what
isn't.
It is.
It
It's
isn't.
not like your lightsabers and your force and your all like all the crazy cool and it's like all the smuggling underworld stuff, which I like. I personally dig. But yeah,
I didn't
that's
think
it.
this game was even on my radar. This is the first time I'm even hearing about it.
Yeah, it's just been like everything Star Wars just gets a lot of shit. And it's a Ubisoft game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Ubisoft Massive, the team that did The Division, did this game. So it's a bit out of left field, I feel, for them in a way. It's like open world stealth, like adventure kind of game. It's interesting.
You're like a Han
but-
Solo type.
Yeah, you play like a scoundrel.
But
If Outlaws didn't give you that.
I think it's very good so far. I've been like thoroughly enjoying my time with it. But Yeah, there have been a lot of negative reviews out there. Which, I mean, if that was their experience of the game, I can't say anything to that. But like the stuff Maddie, this guy we watch on YouTube, was posting about,
Mr. Maddie Plays, yeah.
I just have not run into anything even sort of on that degree of like glitching and like issues. So and you know, in the day of like day one patches, they could have fixed a lot of that for the day one. So that's on them for putting that out there like that. But yeah, I'm really liking it so far. The vibes are great.
Good. And you can talk about it more if you want to in a second. And last but not least, Astrobot, the little PlayStation platformer that may or may not be game of the year. We'll see. We'll see. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm interested to do a full review on that. But Tria, let me throw it over to you.
I'll concur with you on Astrobot. I'm only like on the first Galaxy or thing or whatever. It's a lot of fun. And I appreciate that it was only $60 too. I mean, it's only 60 versus 70 at this point, but
Means a lot.
it's an extra $10, so that's good. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying that so far. Definitely cool celebration of PlayStation in a lot of ways. Other than that, I've been playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, as you mentioned, which is like, I don't know if you've heard of it, Josh. It's like it's an RPG set in. It's this Bohemia, wherever that is. 1400s Bohemia, which is like. We're in like the Germany area of Europe, which I didn't know. And it's very like historically accurate RPG. You play as like a blacksmith after his town gets attacked. And it's very cool. Actually, this is like my third time attempting to get into it because it definitely is, I guess, would you call it hard or like, it's like, how would you describe it?
It's immersive to a point where it's difficult.
Like, yeah, it's either going to be, you're either going to be in it or you're not, into it or you're not for sure. But it's really cool. There's a lot of really interesting like RPG systems. The lock picking is very different, and the pickpocketing is the one that I actually really like the most. But yeah, I mean,
Sounds
like
yeah, sounds like is it something like Assassin's Creed meets Dark Souls or something?
I would say more. Did you ever play like Oblivion or anything like that, or like those RPGs? It's more like a first person like. It's tough to describe.
I
like a first person like. I guess immersive RPG.
I would say Assassin's Creed meets Skyrim or Oblivion. I think is a pretty apt way to put it, like in a very simple kind of terms. Yeah,
but it's cool. Like all the historic stuff is very cool. I will say, and like the menus are very artistically drawn out and stuff, and you have your whole codex. Very cool. I like it a lot so far, and I'm glad I gave it another chance. Other than that, yeah, Red Dead. You know, we'll go over that when the time comes. I did watch Beetlejuice for the first time. Beetlejuice, the first one. I don't know. Have you seen Beetlejuice, Josh?
I have not, but I know they're coming out with a sequel.
Yeah, they have the
right? A reboot.
Yeah. I've never seen Beetlejuice either.
I hadn't either, and like I always hear that it's a great movie, and I was like, okay, I'll go. Like my girlfriend and I were curious, so we watched it like last or 2 weekends ago, and it was like. It held up. I was actually surprised. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. There's some like weird janky green screen in it, but it's very fun. And it's funny because it used to scare the hell out of me when I was a child because you'd see like the scenes where they'd like pull their face back or some weird kind of animation, but it's not scary at all. It's actually just a comedy. And I would actually definitely recommend like checking it out if you're bored one night. But I think that's it. Otherwise, when it comes to what I've been doing, otherwise it's gonna be stuff we're gonna be reviewing and stuff like that. So I don't really want to get into it.
In the heavy release season.
Yeah, I mean, geez, we got a lot coming out, so we'll get there eventually.
We will. But let's get into our topic of the day, which we already sort of gave a little prequel to. So, and I also want to make sure we plug the article that I'm trying to find. Joey Morona.
Joey Morona.
Thank you. Yeah, he wrote basically covering your coverage. So he covered coverage that you guys did, and the article will be in the description, so make sure you check it out. It costs $1 to view, but it's a very interesting read. I've never really read anything quite like this before, and
it was super comprehensive. That's what I liked a lot about it.
The timeline was just cool, like kind of like following it, and like again, like you and your team's comments as to like what was going on and what you liked and what you didn't like, which I thought was interesting, and I definitely want to talk to you about. But the article is titled "How Cleveland.com Took Readers Behind the Scenes of the Making of Superman: Photos, Videos, and Spoilers." Yeah, I guess if you're like really shy towards any spoilers of Superman Legacy. I guess be careful. But I think it's like pretty tame. Like I looked at everything you guys put out. I wouldn't say, like, if you're following Superman Legacy, you know Nathan Fillion is playing Guy Gardner, Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Like, you know that. So, like, I guess it's like in terms of casting. And
Well,
stuff.
especially if you're like on our level here, I guess, like where we're like we really pay attention to like movie news all the time and things like that. Like, it's gonna be one of those things that we're gonna see, and I can imagine you guys got a whole different side of an audience with this. I think you even mentioned it in the article when you were kind of posting this stuff when it comes to like people who follow superhero movie news or just movie news in general and all that stuff. But it was just really cool to see how you guys figured out how to get these shots and what kind of you had to maneuver to, you know, do some journalism, because I just don't feel like you hear a lot about that these days, and it's very cool to see. But I guess was there a point you wanted to start with? Because I did have a question.
Yeah, I guess like even before the article, like the article kind of starts off and you guys are doing it right. So my question to you, Duke, when did you guys hear that like this was happening and that like you like did you plan for it? Like what was that like when you're like, okay, like this is something that's happening, we want to cover it, yes, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so we knew they were going to be filming in Cleveland like months and months and months and months in advance, you know, because they have to work with the Cleveland Film Commission to sort of like get the people they need to, and you know, get the permissions to the access they need to lock down streets or whatever. So all that stuff is sort of public knowledge. So once we knew that months and months ago, obviously we knew that was going to be something to pay attention to. So fast forward to like the week leading up to it, just for the record, they were filming from around mid-June to mid-July for about 6 weeks.
Gotcha.
It didn't really like come back on my radar until about a week beforehand, where we started to get those more specific announcements about like street closures, right? So once we knew that production was closing down streets at particular times and particular dates, there's the information we need to know when and where they're going to be, right? So at that point, it was like, okay, well, let's make sure that we go out and we just start, you know, filming that sort of thing. So it's the first day. They were filming in downtown Cleveland on one of the primary main streets on Superior Avenue. And I get there because we had planned for Social to go there, just cover it, get some photos, get some videos, do a live or something. I get there, I'm like, oh wow, like this is my first time being on set, and I'm like, this is crazy to have all the storefronts sort of changed out to being these fictional places for Metropolis. Really crazy to see like your local like thing that you know to be like Guy's Pizza turned into Metro Pizza, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
So it was like, oh,
that is very
really
cool.
Crazy. And to see all of these at first, when you first get to any set while they were filming, it's not quite so locked down. You can go through it a lot of the time. You can take photos of some of the stuff, like selfies next to the sign, right? So a lot of that stuff was happening. And then once it became closer to them, you know, bringing out the cameras and rolling and the stars getting there, everything started to get locked down where it's like, oh shit, we need to figure out what we're going to do next. But luckily, one of our photographers, Joshua Gunter, he had the great idea to book out a public library that was on the street where their first shooting location in downtown Cleveland was. And we booked out a meeting room that was on the second level. And in our booking and everything, we let them know what we were doing, which was observing. Really? Yeah. And when we reserved the room, we let them know this is what we're doing. We're observing the production. And did we say like we're at Cleveland.com trying to take photos for whatever, blah blah blah? No, but they knew that we were there to watch at least, if nothing else. So
that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
I guess because there's no reason to necessarily lie to them because they're not part of the production, right? So and then
but you aren't letting them know, hey, we're press,
right?
And we're gonna be like.
Well, but
taking pictures of everything.
I was gonna. So wait, did I misunderstand? You didn't let them know that you were for Cleveland.com, or they just knew? You just said you were there to observe.
Yeah. I think we did say Cleveland.com, but we didn't.
That makes sense.
Say, like specifically, we are. get shots of this production.
We're here for
post them,
Superman.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense.
So the library, they're not like paying too much attention to that at the time, but that definitely changes later on for sure.
That makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah, go for it.
No, that was honestly, that was kind of my beginning kind of kickoff question. I guess, like, what's kind of the minutia, if it's not too much, behind like them getting even like approval to like shoot in Cleveland? Like, was that a huge process that you guys were aware of yourself? I know you kind of mentioned it, you guys mentioned a little bit in the article. Like that, all that stuff you were saying was just kind of public knowledge, and you guys knew about months in advance, stuff like that.
Yeah, so we knew that the Greater Cleveland Film Commission in Ohio, in the state of Ohio, worked with the production to give them like massive tax cuts to film here, right?
I see.
So I don't know the particulars or the specifics, but they definitely got a big financial incentive to come here. And of course, Cleveland is the birthplace of Superman. I think back in the day, it was invented by two Jewish people here, and so it was like sort of a spiritual homecoming as well. So it just made sense on so many levels for them to come here. In terms of like locking down the streets, I don't know all of the particulars, but I imagine a lot of paperwork. A lot of paperwork, red tape, permitting, and I'm sure that was all figured out months and months in advance. But a lot of that stuff does become public since it involves the public, and is announced because you got to tell people when the traffic's going to be fucked up. Yeah,
exactly. This street's going to be locked down, whatever. And did I hear you correctly that you said that they were shooting the first scene on Superior Avenue? Is that the actual name of the avenue?
Yeah, Superior Avenue is
That's
the
fantastic.
real name. That's
just awesome.
They replaced the names with street signs from Metropolis. I don't remember what the names.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was like the actual name of the street in Cleveland already was Superior Avenue.
It is.
Oh, yeah,
that's
okay.
But they change it, like, which would be funny if they just left it, because that kind of, Yeah, I
guess because in your you maybe can't have it called Superior Avenue in the movie, but no, that's really cool stuff. And then I guess when it came to getting those pictures, how did things start to change after the first day? Like you said, like they were kind of the library was open to you kind of the first day, but things progressed.
Oh, well, yeah. I think things changed the first day. So it became, it went from being this thing where it was like, oh, we can photograph like the setup and stuff. But once those cameras came out, that's when I realized like the difference, like how this was going to go for the rest of the time. It went from, hey, it's okay for you to just be across the street, like photographing, to a cop telling me that on a public sidewalk I need to move down the street, even though it's not their permitting or the portion of the street that they had locked down or had permissions to. Now, mind you, these are like for hire cop. Well, they are real policemen, but you know how you can secure a cop for like a private event. It's the same.
Sure,
deal.
yeah.
They're security. They're not actually Cleveland police.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, well, it is a Cleveland police officer, but hired for the production, if that makes sense.
I see.
But anyway,
okay, I didn't know you.
No, I think that makes sense. Like the production pays for their time instead of the city, I guess. Exactly. As like, okay, interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, so it would have been an off-duty police officer technically, but still in uniform.
Okay,
got it.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a mix, though, because I think it's a little bit of a mix. Let me not say for sure, but because I know for a fact they do both things. But anyway,
I was gonna say, imagine you have Tom Cruise on set. You probably have a lot of.
Oh, of course, especially if you're filming in public.
Like I'm trying to think, like maybe Nathan Fillion may have been like the biggest. I mean, it's a Superman movie. It's a bit different, but like in terms of like caliber or like star
notable
power,
actor,
maybe.
I would agree. Yeah, because like David Cornsweat's still a relatively unknown guy. He's been in stuff for sure, but like this is going to be his first like leading role. I would say that's like of note.
Sean Gunn wasn't on set, was he?
I don't know if we've ever confirmed that, but I definitely do remember it, and this may be like getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but we had access to their radio communications, and that's how we kind of later got to a lot of information. But on the radio, it kind of sounded like they kept talking about James Gunn's relative. I don't remember if it was his brother or son or something. Is Sean his brother?
Sean's his brother, he uses him for like a lot of doubling stuff. He is going to play an actual role.
So he play. I mean, I know he's like that one Ravager in Guardians, but he's the actual mocap actor for like Rocket
in those Guardians
and
movies.
Weasel in the Suicide Squad. But obviously, he's playing Maxwell Lord in the flesh.
Yeah, too. So
Yes.
it wouldn't surprise if he's doing like double duty.
And like from what I surmise, again, we're gonna be jumping around, but like, you know, we have this like, you know, it's like Isabella Mercado as Hawkgirl and Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner among. I don't know if Mr. Terrific is a part of that.
He is.
Outfit,
He's
but
got
like
the
there's
same
some sort of Maxwell Lord like team happening.
Corporate superheroes.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's
looks
why
like-
they
yeah.
kind of look cheesy. Like they're in like weird outfits. But
That's the
I think
guess anyway so far. Yeah.
Right, I think that's like kind of the point.
Well, and because Mr. Terrific, like his outfit, like that's just what his outfit looks like. It's a leather jacket with
Right.
like what is it,
Fair
fair
play.
play,
Yeah.
right? So when we see that one, and I think you guys even mentioned, it's like that makes sense. His suit looks normal, but then when you pull out Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl or Hawkwoman, and they're in the same exact kind of jumpsuit, that kind of all starts to line up. People were kind of. I'm sure you saw stuff online. People were like, "Oh, this is Guy Gardner. This is what he
look
looks like." It's
shit.
like. Yeah, it's like. Well, that. I mean, I would assume that's the
Yeah,
point,
that's
but
a
you know
point.
what? Maybe we'll see.
For sure. When we I forget his last name. His first name's Eddie, but the guy who plays Mr. Terrific, he when we saw him, it was like he was like a copy and paste. You could clearly tell like what character that was, and it looked his costume was a lot very similar to how it's portrayed in the comics and whatnot. But later down the line, when we see these other characters having like a similar sort of aesthetic, we're like, oh, this is a team outfit kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, this is maybe the Justice Society or whatever, and then they may have some connection to what was it, Maxwell Lord or
Right,
or
yeah.
Stag Society or something. Yeah.
I think there's like a bunch of. I think you guys did take a bunch of pictures of like Stag Enterprises stuff too, which is interesting. I didn't know he was a character outside of like. So apparently,
Gotham?
that's where he first shows up
what?
in Arkham City, or in Arkham City. At least
Simon
I think
Stagg is from the Arkham games.
I think so.
Really?
Don't quote me on that one, but I'm pretty confident that was his first appearance when I was playing it through this last year. It said it in his bio. I might be wrong, but that is an
the
interesting
game
kind of
might
point.
be
But yeah, they definitely seem to, and I'm sure you guys like did your look into it, but he's definitely taking inspiration from like a book called Kingdom Come, as well as like All Star Superman and stuff, and like he seems to be dealing with this new kind of and this is a guess, I have no idea, that he's dealing with this new generations of heroes who kind of don't respect him nearly as much, and like he's seen as the old kind of fuddy-duddy. So I'm curious to see how they kind of go about that. But I mean, some of those shots, so all of those shots of them on the field were you guys, right? For the most part?
I wouldn't say all of them, but yes, for the most part. At that stage, I think what you're referring to is Progressive Field, I think.
I think so. When all the it's like when all the when Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner are out there with him, and they're all filming some type of scene,
Right.
And like Terrific's on like some type of seat. Maybe I think that's the one I'm thinking of.
So that's in Public Square, which is like our Times Square in Cleveland. And
Gotcha.
yeah, that was I think the first time we saw Guy Gardner on set in Hawkgirl, and I know Eddie, Mr. Terrific was there too. Yeah, that was the first time there. But to answer your question more directly, because I realized we went off the rails.
No worries.
So, so basically, yeah, when we got into the library, you asked me, the question I'm responding to was like, how did things change?
Right.
When we got into the library, as soon as I walked in, we're told by a couple of our teammates who were already in there, like, hey, they're basically having the library people tell people to stay away from the windows at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Such an awkward request.
Oh, okay.
Can you not look outside? Thank you.
I'm not looking.
Not like my thing. I've not done that before, but to me, it was like, oh, we're gonna have to be in paparazzi mode at this point. You know what I'm saying? Because now it's like we have knowledge about a radio at this point in time, so we're kind of listening and out for the moment where the stars and the capes come out, because at this point they have the whole street blocked off and set up and the cameras out. On the street there is this mechanism that looks like, I think it's supposed to be like an escape pod or a spaceship of some kind. I don't know for a fact, but that's what it kind of appeared to be, where a lot of citizens were maybe coming out of it, escaping some kind of like, I don't know. It seemed to be some kind of evacuation sequence or something, where military people are on the ground helping people out of this escape pod thing and running away. But so once we see that David Cornsweet and Mr. Terrific come out, that was when we were like, okay, like, let's go ahead and crawl on the floor, don't let them see you, and take some snaps, because they were literally like right outside of our window, not even like 15 feet away from the spot that we picked. Maybe 15 is maybe like more like 20 feet. But yeah, they're like right there. So we're like, snap, 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 record, record, record. And we kept doing that for a minute until eventually we were asked to leave, because the library, for whatever reason, they gave in to whatever production was asking them to do. And so they asked us to leave. But technically, like, I don't know why the library did that. They didn't need to. It's public property. I'm healed from this experience, so I don't need to reopen that wound too much.
No, I understand. That would be, I can imagine how frustrating that is, because you're like, I'm in this public place. This is a public library. I pay my taxes. I can use a library. God darn it. Yeah, no, that would be so frustrating.
Yeah, on that note, one person on the sidewalk was like lamenting. He was like very irritated that they shut down the library for a movie production.
Yeah,
he was like, that's so like high education and all that. But I was like, yeah,
that's pretty fun.
So you're just like, I just want my picture. God damn it! What that? Yeah,
I got in.
Yeah,
we got in. So I guess that's all that matters.
Was the library where you guys took the Clark Kent shot, or was that in a different spot?
I don't think we got a good, well, no, we did get a good Clark Kent shot. I wasn't involved in that particular day.
Gotcha.
Wasn't there, but we did get a Clark Kent shot eventually at one day, but I think it was on the same street, because he filmed something outside what was the Daily Planet, which is on that same street. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Duke, I did want to kind of back up a second, just a little bit before we get further, because you know, what was it like seeing Corningsweet as Superman? I mean, you're a big DC fan. We've talked about the Snyder movies for days. Like when we first met, like those were what was coming out, and same with like you're a big Arrowverse fan. What was it like just kind of like not only taking the first video of him, but like just kind of like seeing that in the flesh? You know, I feel like it's like a big moment, not just for your work, but like as a fan.
Yeah, as a fan, it was really kind of surreal. I've never been in an environment like this. I've never seen with my own two eyes, like a superhero, the biggest superhero in the world, right? Like right in front of my eyes. It's like kind of tangible. And like I'm seeing it with my own. I'm not seeing it through someone else's lenses. I'm seeing it with my two eyes, right? That was insane. It was really, really exciting. I'm a big Henry Cavill guy. Like I'm super, like I loved Man of Steel. I even love Batman v Superman, all edits, including
you're in good company here on that one. So
and sad to see how that turned out. Obviously, but you know, seeing a Superman who I think David Cornsweet, from what I can see, he looks pretty good in the role. I mean, like it's believable. I buy it.
Absolutely.
The costume, to me, it was like kind of cool to see as well. It was like a little weird to see the whole sort of
the underwear,
the install. You know, I was like, I don't know, but it's grown on me since.
Yeah, the collar it's a different look.
Yeah, it's very poppy in terms of like a very, very bright, you know.
I will admit the first official image we got of him in the suit, I didn't like the photo. I mean, it's really edited. I mean, obviously,
because the alien stuff in the back.
It's a very weird. It's hard to judge superhero suits off of those kind of images. But from your guys' coverage and what I saw, I liked seeing it actually,
I
like,
adored
it's,
it
again,
in
seeing it in
yeah.
action is everything, but like seeing those, you know, like for the most part, unedited, you know, leak images of him in the suit, I was like, that looks much better than that edited image.
And I do think, you know, that first image, it was more to convey a feeling, in my opinion, than like really to show you, because like a regular superhero suit reveal is him like in an upright position, the lighting's perfect, and you have this great shot of them. Like in that one, he was like beaten up.
It's
his
damaged,
suit, he's
yeah.
sitting down. He's like obviously tired and putting on his boot again because he's like, fuck, another alien is attacking. I have to get up. Like I feel like they were trying to convey something with that, which is why I liked that, I think, much more than I think a lot of initial people maybe were on board with. And I think there's a lot of fair issues with it. But seeing it, like Gooch said, in like just not edited, just an on location shot, the one shot of his cape where it's like bellowing and like the S is on the back. I like that suit a lot. I would even say I love it. It's a very good look. But it sounds like it was really cool to even see just in person, which is nice.
Yeah, and later down the line, when he was more frequently filming in the public square area, where by this time there was a lot of public people on the sides kind of getting access to be kind of like, you know, seeing what's going on.
Sure.
I remember seeing a whole bunch of fans out there, like, because he was coming from his wherever he was getting dressed at, between, you know, shots or whatever, coming back out to the set, and I just remember all these fans just like putting their phones up and like screaming his name. It could have been, it literally could have been a scene in the movie, right? Like literally, like Superman.
That's
nobody
very
was
cool.
using David Collinsworth's name. They
No,
don't know
yeah.
him.
He's Superman. Yeah.
It was literally exactly what you would expect to see in the movie.
That would have been a cool video to get video of that.
That is very
you know?
cool.
Like,
I know there was one shot too. Like, I don't know if it is, and maybe it is this moment you're talking about, or maybe they filmed it for the movie. But it's like him like getting not attacked, but like a bunch of kids are like running up and like hugging him, and like it looks like a very cool moment. That's very cool, honestly.
Yeah, I
That's
think
such
there was a scene like that they filmed.
That's such a different juxtaposition to where in BVS, where Superman, you know, he saves, it's like a Mexican school or something like
Right.
that, and like all the Mexican people have like their hands
very
out,
godlike,
and he's a
yeah.
fucking
He like
god.
comes down like Jesus Christ.
Right, it, like think about like the juxtaposition of those two scenes. Like this is a like, and we know this, but just like reiterating it, this is a much different version of Superman.
Well, I'd say it's the more, like, for lack of a better term, classic version of Superman, and like the more and I the one thing that I really feel bad for Henry Cavill about when it comes to him not being able to come back as Superman is I would have liked to see him evolve more into this version of Superman and seeing more of that like adoration from people that I don't feel like we saw enough of, that we're kind of more told about in those movies. But I still do think like the angle that they're approaching this from sounds very interesting to me. I don't know if you guys heard anything else. There was some stuff going around, like, and I don't know how much you can trust like leak stuff from people these days. Gooch and I talk about it all the time, but they're talking about how they're really leaning into the fantastical elements on this one, and like this is a universe where superheroes have existed for a long time at this point. Like they are part of how the world's developed.
They're not new.
So that sounds like a very interesting proposition to me, and I think it's a cool way to differentiate yourself from like a Marvel, especially.
Duke, I do have a question. Could you understand who they were fighting? Like, what were they doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we heard it described as the kaiju. So some kind of monster, some kind of big monster. And when I kind of, it sounds like it could be something that does step on the ground. I'm just going based on how I remember them talking over the radio. But it also could possibly be, I don't know, remember in the concept art, there's like this big eye in the sky that's It could be that. I don't know. Yeah. All I know is that it's some kind of kaiju monster.
Jamie, he likes his kaijus. I mean, because he just did Starro, which is funny.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if it was some human villain, they would have been on set too, and we would have known this. But I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, like who the fuck is he even fighting?
Well, to even get back to, I think there's a line in the article that you guys put out, Josh, where, getting back to spoilers, where James Gunn's like, I'm not filming anything in the public square that I'm not willing to have spoiled, because there's no way to cut off the entire square when you are filming these outdoor scenes. So I mean, even we got that other dude in black who we don't really know who it is.
I think I know who it is.
Gooch has a thought.
Because when I read that, I was like, I'm gonna blow. I put this in our Discord, which you can join in the description. But there is a DC animated universe villain from the Batman the Animated Series, the first season, called Lockup. And he looks exactly like that. Like the way he's basically a cop who becomes like this like vigilante, essentially. Like he
isn't that vigilante?
Not vigilante, but you know, like he basically is a cop who just becomes like a vigilante who's like taking justice into his own hands, and he looks very similar to that.
You know what, man? You might be onto something here.
Yeah,
this is actually
like, we know Frank Grillo is playing Rick Flag Sr. We're gonna see him in Creature Commandos as well.
I mean, Gooch, this is the guy. Like, there's no.
If
way
I'm right,
I think you have to be right because like these shots, especially. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good call.
He's in one episode. He is literally like he is just from an episode of the animated series.
I think he has. It looks like he's in the comics now.
That's got to be him. Like, if I had to take a stab at it,
well,
I guess we're gonna see.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if you're talking about the same person as I'm thinking of. But you're talking about the guy like that arrested Superman in some of the photos, and
he has like the chain around his neck and a mask.
Yeah, so we understand that to be. Is it okay if I say like?
No, that would be absolutely no. If you honestly, if you guys know.
Yeah, the story behind this is kind of funny because we didn't know who that was at first.
Yeah,
that was another time where we had to get creative to get the shot because they locked stuff down and all that. And we got the shot. We're like, I don't know who this is. You don't know who this is. And Joey, one of the reporters who's doing a lot of these stories, whose story we're talking about too, he tweets out the photo like, who is this? And everybody's like, massive spoiler, that's Ultraman. And we're like, oops, sorry. So like by this time we already kind of shared it, but we didn't know like who or whatever that was.
Like, Reign of Superman Ultraman? That guy?
I don't know.
So okay, so that's that makes sense. But that was what people were just kind of saying to you in the comments. Okay.
Yeah.
Ultraman.
Later over the radio communications, they referred to that character multiple times as well.
Oh, they did. They said Ultraman like on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so yes, they did. Now, technically speaking, obviously, if they thought somebody could be listening, they could
see that's actually
right. They're lying, right? Yeah,
or they could be. I think
mean,
honestly,
they called the big monster the kaiju. Like, obviously, it's not a kaiju. Yeah. They're just calling it that. I literally, when you said that, I'm like, it's a code name.
I would say. Oh, sorry,
I forgot. Ultraman is the crime syndicate version of Superman.
So that's like an alternate universe Superman. So my guess is that they are saying. Because maybe you guys did tweet that, and then everyone's like, Ultraman, and then the next couple days they're like, we're going to use that on the radio. That would be some like, next level. That would be like a next level thinking that I don't know if they're really
James
thinking that
Gunn's
hard
on Twitter, I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, and I guess, and honestly, I don't think that's a major spoiler, honestly, putting that up, because that could be Ultraman.
That would be fucking nuts.
That would be a wild kind of pull-in.
Big. It's clearly a big universe from the jump. I mean, to bring in
like I'm saying, it's apparently
a
an
multiverse
established
already
one.
with the crime syndicate. It just seems kind of a lot when it's already a lot and odd. Like, that's why I was like, oh, it's got to be Lockup, a villain nobody knows that they can randomly use.
I mean, he looks exactly like that character that you just like Lockup. So I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. It would surprise me if they were like, oh, we're gonna do Ultraman in this too. But still, that's interesting.
The fan theory,
exactly.
The second fan theory to that is that that Ultraman is some kind of clone of Superman. Maybe that's like the lore of that character.
Sure.
Right, they could be doing something different. Yeah.
Yes, the fan theory is that it's a clone of him somehow, and the person playing that clone is going to be revealed to be Henry Cavill. That's the fan theory. I can't say it's
what if he plays
or heard of him, but that's the theory.
I mean, it could just be Bizarro too under it, and it's just Corn Sweat, but as Bizarro. Or if they bring in Henry Cavill as Bizarro, that would be funny. But I don't know. I think Cavill's someone you can hold in your back pocket as Gunn, and if this becomes a very popular universe and it inevitably does do the multiverse insanity, you have him come back as like a different Superman, or as old Superman, or as the Earth 1 Superman, something like that. But that is interesting, and especially considering they were actually using that over the radio. But then that does lead me to think, like, oh, are they messing with us?
Right,
Are they just
like
messing
think
with
about
us?
Marvel. Like they literally like made fake like they put fake things in their trailers.
That's very
to
normal
just
for me. Yeah,
throw people off. Like I don't find it weird that like they would be throwing people off who are trying to leak things.
well, and I'd be curious to even go back to maybe
No
like
offense.
the coverage of. Oh no, I'd be curious to go back to like times or reporting on like bigger superhero movies back in the day, like a Dark Knight, and see like how much of that was like, oh, we heard this on set, and then this actually ended up being the case, or this, that, and the other. Because I mean, it does sound like you guys had like just much more access than I would have expected, at least at first, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And then they kind of shut it off. But
There's a quote from you in the article about you getting like upset about, I guess, the way you were being treated. I guess like in the, I don't know if it was in the middle or towards the end. Can you talk about that a little bit? I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, so I would say that they definitely employed some kind of local security team. I think they're local. I'm not 100% sure, but that were, let's just say, very aggressive at locking these sets down and telling people they can or cannot record, or telling people where to go. So public square, like just imagine if somebody locked down like Times Square in New York, right? And they had all these people or whatever on the sides of this lockdown trying to like record and all that. And a security guard's just like, I will fuck you up if you don't, blah,
really,
blah, blah.
like genuine, like
Is that how they were talking to you?
I would say, to me specifically, I had a couple of instances that were not pleasant, but I didn't get like a threat like that. But I definitely saw somebody get threatened because they had a bad reaction to them being told that they can't stop walking. Because, by the way, I should mention, a lot of these places are leading down streets and sidewalks that are attached to like a business. So they still had signs saying, this is still open, you can still come through or whatever. So a lot of people were still doing that, and that's what I would be doing too, but still grabbing photos on the side because it's like a public sidewalk. You can't really tell me I can't do that.
Exactly.
And so somebody was like, I'm grown, like you can't tell me what to do, blah blah blah. And then the guy was like,
I'm an adult.
really aggressive. He was like, I'll beat your ass. But I was like, whoop, that guy's a liability, Superman. You might want to.
No, it's true, man.
Yeah, but
so
later I definitely had a couple of instances where like at some point I became very much known to security, to whoever was like responsible for locking down sets or whatever, watching out for people. At certain points they would point to me, and then everybody in their group would be like 15 based on where I was walking. Like I'm not joking. Like
that's wild.
Yeah, it became a thing where it was like I had to. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this. I had to like bring alternative disguises.
Oh my god, that's awesome!
That's good stuff, man.
Like really go incognito and like change outfits, because if I busted, then they would just track me down
immediately
and follow me wherever I would go. Yeah,
that's wild stuff, man.
Yeah, and the article mentions that like they knew who you, like not just you, but like the fact that Cleveland.com was like around a lot, and the main leakers of the set. Like I don't know, that's pretty fucking cool. I know it's probably a bit nerve wracking, but
yeah, it's a little awkward, I would say. I mean, for me, I don't blame them for like wanting to lock their set down and not wanting to have media or whatever, like photographing and all that. But from our perspective, we posed this question to our editor-in-chief, and his basic response was, if they wanted to work with us, they would have worked with us. If they wanted to invite us in to like do an interview with James Gunn or blah 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 blah, then we'd be more sympathetic and maybe not be doing all this for shot. But since they didn't work with any media, we don't feel like any kind of reason to not try to do what we can out of it.
That's your job, right? Yeah, that's what you guys are supposed to do. You're supposed to get the shot and supposed to get the thing that you shoot out to everyone. I mean, it makes total sense to me. And especially with that answer, like, if they do play ball a little bit, then you get a little bit of scratch my back, I scratch your back, in like the best way possible. Like, but you guys got the good shots, and it's what the people were yearning for, because
Yep.
they spread like wildfire
Yeah,
as soon
for
as
sure.
they did. And you guys really did a great job. Like I said before, when we first started, I sadly really didn't realize how much came from you guys, and I think that does suck. And the spreading of where this information comes from should be more normalized, especially just like the way everything can just get shotgunned out there on Twitter and everything now. People just take something and run with it. It's like, I got this, or whatever. It's like,
Right, breaking, like,
there's nothing
Yeah.
under it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's those, I forget, there's like a few
Yeah,
different like
like-
Sorry, go ahead.
No, sure. I was gonna say I get it though. It is the name of the game in this day and age. Like it is to be expected, but
Sure.
there are certain things that are just like kind of crazy and go above and beyond. Like after my first after that first video, like I'm pretty sure I can say my video was the first video of David Corn Sweat as Superman on set. Period. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we have the same, not 100% on that. Like public.
Right.
Because then we waited to publish the photos until much later, so that we didn't get like our spot burned. But anyway, I was saying that it's one thing for you to like just reshare the photo or whatever, but it's another thing for you to like put your logo on it.
Yeah,
It's another thing for you to
right.
crop out our watermark. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
this whole different thing. And you like misattribute where it's coming from. But I get it. In this day and age, in this, like for everyday bloggers or everyday people that aren't like part of a real organization, people are just going to copy paste and post. You know what I'm saying? So
No,
yeah.
that does make sense. But yeah, and I feel you though on like those large organizations should really figure that out though. Like if you, there's some majorly notable like Twitter accounts where it's like, okay, come on, like tag the person. Like you guys aren't just one like individual maybe resharing something. Like you're an organization and you're just removing this watermark, or you're not crediting. Like, come on, that's so that's so
I was
messed up.
telling Trio because we were talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, like did they have a watermark?" And
I was like, I don't know
"Yeah,"
how
but
that-
I'm like, dude, like with AI and Photoshop, the watermarks are probably easier to get rid of than
I was
ever.
gonna say I don't even know how that like works
Like
at this point.
I
Yeah.
was telling Trio for
Yes.
like our Helldivers 2 review, I got a wallpaper image of the game, but with the logo in like the sky, and I removed the logo with AI, and you would never know the difference.
It's wild. Yeah, that I guess
Yes,
that will
it's
just make things
really,
more
really
frustrating.
crazy.
Yeah.
I did want to talk about, I guess. So, it's sort of like a two-part question. So for the 6 weeks they were filming, like, how many days were you guys active, like, getting video and images? And then I guess, like, I know there's like in the latter part of you guys doing this, you're kind of someone on your team had like a connection to like some houses that were in the area that enabled you guys to get shots from rooftops, and you took up a drone, which I thought was pretty cool, which I thought was like probably like, I'm like, how the hell did you get a drone up there and like able to get anything?
guys with
'Cause
BB
I feel
guns
like
just-
right, they would just be like, we're gonna fucking find where
Drone!
this drone is,
Yeah.
right, and take it down. So a few multiple faceted question for you, but
Yeah. So to answer the last question first, I already forgot the first question because that's where my memory goes. The drone thing, I'm a licensed drone pilot, Part 107 license. So to fly a drone is pretty easy. It's smart technology in this day and age. It's not that
Right.
difficult, but you do have to get like approval from the FAA to fly in the particular area of downtown Cleveland because it's near an airport.
Right.
That was really an experience too, because my little drone, I fly oh shoot, the name is escaping me. DJI Mission Pro.
a
So I
Mavic?
fly
Yeah.
that, and it's a very, very short battery. Like it'll last like 25 minutes really of flight time. So for that, it was like listening to the radio, popping up that drone as soon as they yell
Go, go,
action, and quite honestly, like just like getting whatever you can, coming back and landing, and waiting for the next time they yell action. So there were several times where they spotted drones, and we were not, to be very clear, we were not the only organization doing drones at that point. There was at least one other organization that was flying a drone to get shots, and I'm pretty sure at different times they did hear over the radio them spotting a drone and saying, "Can someone handle that?" And so at
Whatever
one
that
point,
means.
me and a videographer, John Pano, were doing this at the same time in different locations for the same like baseball arena
Right.
that they were filming this stuff in. And I guess he got spotted, so they went up and they basically talked to him or whatever. But you know, he just showed that he was like recording just general downtown stuff, and they left him alone or whatever. But once again, it was from a location. You really can't. You don't control the air. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
these are one of those things where they were like, we have this area, this it's locked down. You can't do that. You don't do that. That's not true. Like you don't.
Well, isn't there like
say stuff like that?
There's like an there's like an app you can check, right? For like that shows you something like aerial,
No
like
fly zones.
yeah,
and
like
stuff.
no
So
fly zones.
my
things like that.
dad does a lot of drone flying, so I know a lot of this
And
from
you
him.
you can get approval to fly in those areas.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I guess, but like, I'm sure they didn't go to like the FAA, whatever people that they have to and be like, hey, make the Cleveland, like the baseball diamond a no-fly zone. Like they were definitely just walking up and be like, hey, stop that. But that is so interesting. I guess my question too, Josh, for you is like, how was it interesting being on like a movie set? Have you been on a movie set ever before? Or like, was there anything interesting that you learned that maybe you had never known about?
Yeah, never been on a movie set before, but one thing that for me that was like standing out was how quickly they could just they could build up an entire like scene on an entire street or multiple streets, an entire block, and they can tear all that stuff down like less than like 10 hours. It'd be crazy. Another thing that was like very, very shocking and kind of surprising to me was James Gunn's interactions and how he moved on the set. In my mind, I've always thought like the director is like behind the camera. He may not be holding it, but he's like behind it, like directing, saying this and that, and like very like on the scene that they're filming. But most of these sequences, most of these scenes that he was shooting, he was in some kind of director's tent where I'm guessing through a monitor, he was like looking at where was recording and communicating alternative channel what the direction is for most part. So that was also very interesting. Another thing was how many times, Jesus Christ, how many times do the same scene over and over and over.
Oh my god! It's like, dude, is this the 57th time?
Yeah, you're not even in it, and like it's tough. Crazy. Oh man.
And I felt so bad for some of these extras that were out in this hot sun. They would take care of it. To their credit, they would give them what they need: water, sunscreen. They call a medic or whatever as needed.
Right.
But I think the last thing that was very interesting to me was just listening to those radio communications and their sort of banter. A lot of times you could hear frustrations. I think the primary voice we heard was the first assistant director, whose name I did not record and I don't know off the top of my head.
Ed, I believe. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was running a show. I'll tell you, I could tell he was dealing with a lot of moving parts, and he very much came across as somebody who would be fun and playful, but like if you irritate him, he would like it'd be very obvious. We'll just say that. There was a few times where there was a lot of passive aggressive back and forth that I just thought was so fascinating to be like you're listening in on a private conversation kind of thing. So awkward it was interesting to see that and hear that.
The first part of my question that you mentioned you forgot. So you said this was going on for 6 weeks. Like how many days were you actually out there like getting stuff? I mean, I imagine it was not literally all 6 weeks, every day.
Yeah, so it was almost every day, honestly.
Wow.
They actually technically started. I'm looking at like a little schedule of event sequence of events I have noted, but their first filming was around June 17th at some at a park that's outside of the Cleveland area in Mentor, and there was military tents and stuff set up there. We didn't really cover that. We didn't go chase that at that time, but from there, yeah, we were there pretty much every Monday through Friday, like up until from the time they came to downtown Cleveland until they left. We were in some way, shape, or form there. If they were filming, we were there. Me specifically, I wasn't there every single day, but I was there more days than I wasn't for sure. And it was like very difficult because the normal work that you're doing doesn't just go away, you know what I'm saying? So you still have to like kind of catch up and do all those things because a lot of the time you're kind of posted out just waiting for something to happen. So you could kind of do both things sometimes, but a lot of times it's like, I gotta catch up when I get home.
Yeah. A lot of juggling, I can only assume.
Did Cleveland.com social feeds grow at all while you were doing this?
Yeah, definitely. We had a massive boost in just random people that were interested from internationally. Honestly, it wasn't just obviously the local Cleveland area. It was a lot of different subscribers come and find our stuff because to these like fan organizations' credit, a lot of these people were actually tagging us and adding us and crediting us. So a lot of those people were funneled into our social media feeds and our website.
That's good.
And checked out our content. Right, so that was really, really nice and a positive outcome. And obviously part of the reason we did all of this in the first place. So yeah,
right,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I will say. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, well, one thing I will say though is it was interesting also to see a lot of people in our own feed, like our regular audience, or maybe at some point got a little bit fatigued with the content, because we were definitely, like you said, we were on there like every day posting something for Superman.
I know
that makes sense.
Superman.
Saying, oh, we will know what the whole movie is before it even comes out, and it's like we're not even showing you like a quarter or a tenth of whatever's going to be in the trailer in all actuality. But I get it, you know.
Yeah, also, those people don't have to look that up, though, too.
Right, like, we're sitting here talking about it. We barely know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, we're
only making guesses.
A lot of stuff.
And we're probably as deep as you can get in this stuff. So, like,
yeah.
In most of these scenes, I couldn't tell you what the fuck is happening. I don't know how you feel like you watched the movie.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was my reaction, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, before we sort of get to our end here, the only thing, so it was just funny having this parallel, because I don't know if you know this, Shazam, both of them were filmed in Philadelphia, to some extent. I don't think every scene
were they?
was
I thought they were
here.
filmed in Vancouver.
Right, some shots were, but there are some shots of both Shazam movies in Philly.
Right, but
like the city of Philadelphia.
I think those are just stock shots, though. I don't think they like actually shot in
Really?
Philly. Yeah,
You think so?
Because Vancouver, that another thing, they get a big tax break when you film up there. That's why a lot of that's done out there.
Because that was like the only like what superhero movies haven't shot around here, and like Shazam, like they're in the Philadelphia area, like in the movie, like that's the city. Then, but again, I don't remember hearing anything about that. You feel like that would be a big deal, even if it is a smaller superhero film. Like the sequel show to The Mayor of Easttown, which is an HBO like detective series, like that same guy is doing another show in this area, and I like it was like kind of like public knowledge that it was being shot in like
my dad was the city manager.
County, like,
it was in Coatesville. It wasn't Delaware.
Like well, like no, I drove past the set like up the street on Westchester Pike. Like it
was mostly shot in Coatesville. Sorry.
They're shooting stuff around here,
sure,
and like it's pretty public knowledge. But yeah, like it's not a detective show on HBO is not the same as Superman. You know, it's like totally different. So. I think it's really awesome that you have this like moment of not only your like fandom but your career. Like that's fucking awesome.
For sure.
Like put that on a resume and be like, yeah, me and my team
first shot of Superman. No worries.
Yeah. NBD, like pretty cool. Like anyone who's like a Superman fan who sees that and be like, holy shit.
Superman is literally the most recognizable character on the earth, I believe. Like it's him. Like I guess as far as superhero goes, like you can show Superman to someone in like a less developed country, and they're still gonna be like Superman, which is so it's it's a very unique experience, man. It's so cool you guys got to experience that, and we appreciate you sharing it with us because
Absolutely.
it's cool to go behind the scenes about this stuff.
It was a great. Yeah, it was a great career milestone for me. Got tons and tons of people, even individually on my private socials, kind of coming and messaging me to ask questions about what was going on, and a lot of people who were planning a visit just to see the production, like asking me for tips and all that. So yeah, a lot of people were very, very interested, and it definitely was a boost for my career personally. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Fun.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on here and, you know, shooting the shit with us and educating us a little bit and giving us the behind the scenes of that. Because, like, I would have never thought to reach out with anything like this. So the fact that the opportunity was sort of in my lap a little bit, like, that was awesome. And we appreciate your time and you coming on here. And Cleveland.com. I know you had to get, like, a little bit of a thumbs up to do this. So it's cool that you were able to, again, come on.
And do you want to shout out? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to shout out all your socials or anything like that? Where people can find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on pretty much everything at joshduke.cle, CLE for Cleveland, of course, obviously. Or you can follow us on Cleveland.com. Cleveland.com on everything, and you instead of the dots, you spell out DOT in most things. So
cool. Yeah, and all that information will be in the description. So if you're looking for like the shortcuts, all down there, including the article we've been talking about this whole time. But yeah, again, Josh, thank you so much for coming on. Trio, lead us out, buddy.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely, guys. Well, thank you all so much for watching with us. We usually stream these live at twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. You can find our podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your platform of choice. We're on all the social media apps as well. On everything with an @ we are at Delco Nerds. We got a Facebook page, a Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to delconerds@gmail.com. We are happy to respond, and you can find all this information on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. But for Josh, for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.